Joining us now for more information into Tampon Tim's background, he's a researcher at the Government Accountability Institute and co-host of the podcast Drilldown with Peter Schweizer. Let's welcome to Real America, Eric Eggers. Eric, nice to see you. Wow. I'm not surprised. Every other day, actually lately, it's been almost every day, we learn something more about Tim Walz, this sweet, kind-hearted, Army veteran, guy next door governor who wants us to believe that he goes out and because he hunts and he's got a wife and a couple kids and he lives in the Midwest, that he's a normal dude. He's one of us. He's not a communist. He's not a traitor. But then I keep hearing about all these connections. So what did you find out in your research of Mr. Tim Walz? Fill us in, please.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. And, let's play a game because let's remember, Tim Walz has only been the nominee for 2 weeks.
Yep.
So under investigation by a House committee, thanks in part to research by the Government Accountability Institute.
Thank you.
A history with substance abuse, controversial exit from the military, and Chinese business ties.
Yep.
Who are we talking about? Are we talking about vice presidential nominee Tim Walz, or are we talking about Hunter Biden? Because the parallels are actually quite striking. And I think, and I'm serious about this, in 2 weeks, we were able to replace a Biden the first time in 50 years. There's no Bush, there's no Clinton, there's no Biden on the ticket. So Joe Biden's gone, his son Hunter and his Chinese connections are gone, and we managed to replace them with someone who's got even potentially stronger ties to the Chinese Communist Party. Remember, as governor, everything you just said is true and incredibly troubling. But the one thing you didn't mention that I think all of your viewers should be aware of, I mean, the $2 million to an al-Qaeda-linked charity is bad. How about $900 million of Minnesota tax dollars going into Chinese funds? He used Minnesota state pensions to fund. He's the chair of, as governor, he's the chair of their state board of investments. And they pushed $900 million into Chinese funds at a time when states like Florida, Missouri, and Indiana are backing away. No other state put that much money within the last 3 years as Minnesota did. So there's a lot of very concerning ties.
I mean, the guy got married there, right? And he's taken multiple trips since. He took his students there. He's commented on how much he loves it. He's on camera saying, I don't know why we're so adversarial with China. They're great. I mean, he loves them. But I want to go to this Amman connection, this radical Islam cleric who, I don't know, do we have the clip? Because I'm sure I saw it online. There's an online clip of him talking about the guy and bragging him up. He thinks he's like a master teacher. I mean, so you love China and communism and you love radical clerics that have connections to terror groups, that don't condemn the October 7th attacks. Oh, and by the way, are connected to Al-Qaeda, the guys that brought the towers down. And this is a guy that we're putting up as VP on the Democrat ticket. They should be freaking ashamed of this, Eric.
I think his quote was, as one teacher, I know a master teacher when I see one. So he was very complimentary and laudatory of this radical Islamic linked person. And don't forget, you mentioned the Chinese ties. Just really quickly, his wedding anniversary is on the 5th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. I mean, that's how connected this guy is to the heart of everything that's wrong with communist China. And so now he's then, he's lauding, he's attending events. He's attended events sponsored by communist China. He's attended events where this cleric was speaking. He's now sent $2 million of taxpayer dollars in Minnesota to groups linked to Al-Qaeda. Worse than that, as governor, he helped oversee this insane inflation of up to $250 million worth of fraud, money that was supposed to go to feed poor kids.
I saw that.
Ended up in Somali-linked groups that were supposed to feed people, but actually ended up making all the food disappear. So Tim Walz's track record as governor is bad, and these are why I think the House investigation into Tim Walz. You remember, we're 2 weeks into this. So if this is what everybody knows so far, imagine what we'll know by November.
I can't even keep track of the scandals. You said let's play a game. So to wrap things up with you, in case you missed any, I'm going to go over the ones that I know of, and then I want you to throw any more in, all right? Folks, you can play at home. Take a drink every time I say a scandal. No, I'm just kidding. So this isn't a scandal, but it's disgusting. He pushed for the tampons in all public bathrooms for boys K through 12 in schools in his state. We know that's a fact. He signed the transgender bill that makes it a safe haven so minors can go behind their parents' back and be mutilated in his state. That's a fact. You just told us he gave almost $1 billion in way of a union's investment money over to a Chinese firm. There, we got that one. He's being investigated for the $2 million that went missing in the food fund for poor kids. The AWOL thing, we know is a fact because the actual Command Master Sergeant came out and said he knew where we were deploying. He retired right before I took over and I was the Command Master Sergeant. He knew. So all this BS of he didn't know when they were going to Iraq, that's a lie. And he lied about his title. That's stolen valor. So that's the valor thing. Getting married on the anniversary of Tiananmen Square and loving China and all the comments about loving China. And, the one soundbite I love is where he says one person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. So we know how he feels about socialism and communism there. This Aman saying the cleric's an amazing guy, a master teacher. The connections to those terror groups and helping them. There's 9. What else? I almost forgot a big one. And allowing the riots to happen and not help the mayor of Minnesota during the summer of love. Right? For 3 days, he didn't send in the guard. That was his call, and he blamed it on the mayor. That Democrat mayor's come out and said, no, that was all Tim, not me. I got 10. What am I missing before we say goodbye, Eric?
Well, at the risk of making your audience even as inebriated as Tim Walz was when he got his DUI back in the mid-90s, which allegedly led him to stop drinking, I would say that, the fact that his daughter went onto social media and shared the fact that the National Guard wouldn't be in certain locations during those riots and protests, and that's one of the reasons why you saw law enforcement officials, law enforcement stations get burned down. Then, by the way, there's the video circulating after that of Minnesota police going and shooting their residents with paintballs to make them go back inside to enforce the curfew after he was laissez-faire. No, it's a train wreck. His track record during COVID, his track record on the trans stuff, his track record of the George Floyd
protests. We're like
protests,
at a baker's dozen, Eric. You're giving me a headache.
I guess I wish we were more top shelf on the program tonight, Dan. But no, it's very bad. And I think the good news is partly because of our research, the House is investigating. And I think that what they will continue to find will continue to give everyone, let's just call it, more of a buzz about Tim Walz.
All right, thedrilldown.com. Check out what him and Peter Schweizer, Peter, been on the program, love his books and his amazing investigations. And we love what you guys do over at the Government Accountability Institute. Keep it up. We'll probably need more of you over the next 70-some days before this election because, as you said, it's only been 2 weeks. Wait till next week and what we find out about Tim Walz. Eric Eggers, thank you, brother. Take care.